Happy Thursday morning, everybody. Scotty Hobbs here. I just finished my workout, my meditation, doing my reading this morning, so I'm a little bit hot and sweaty, but that's what happens. I feel good. I feel amazing after workouts. But I want to give a shout out first and foremost to one of my friends from high school. Her name's Heather College. She's a nurse, but she is also a Beachbody coach. And she has advanced her business to 1-star diamond today. So I'll write her up something nice later. But since I was on a Facebook video, I wanted to shout her out for that accomplishment, what she's achieved with that. So I'm going to talk about this experience of being hijacked. So when I was in my meditation this morning, I was, your mind starts to drift off and have thoughts and many things come to mind and whatnot. And this thought came to my mind because I've been reading about this topic, and then a memory came up inside of my mind about being hijacked. And so I'll tell you that story briefly, then I want to teach you guys something. So I remember one time I was serving as a LDS missionary in Venezuela. I spoke Spanish there. I was away from my family for 2 years from the ages of 19 to 21. And I remember one time I was with my companion, with my partner, and we were on a bus. And I don't remember the details very vividly, and I had seemingly forgot about this experience until this morning in my meditation. But I remember being on a bus, and I remember the bus was stopped, and we were kind of like looking around. And just to give you guys a little backstory, I'd had a 9mm pointed at my head on a bus before, as I got my watch robbed and some shoes taken from me in Venezuela. But at this point, I remember that we were all asked to get off the bus. A man got in came up in the front of the bus with an automatic machine gun rifle of some sort, and was directing us all off of the bus. And very fast Spanish. I didn't catch it very well because I was fairly new there. But I remember we got off and we were all lined up against the bus, and there were 5 men, all with automatic rifles, and they were stealing, taking from everybody that was on that bus. And so I just remember in my mind, I remember being calm, but I remember extreme fear going through my mind, experiencing these feelings. And when we experience these feelings, these chemicals are released into our body. It's you have a fight or flight reaction. Mine was just a frozen fright type of reaction. But I remember that this morning, and it made me think about this hijacking per se of this bus in Venezuela, and it made me think about the thought that every single one of you guys that's going to hop on this video with me this morning or watch it on YouTube later has been hijacked in some sort of way in your life. And most likely, I'd imagine most of you are hijacked almost daily. So you might be thinking like, okay, what do you mean, Scotty? What do you mean I'm hijacked daily? And what I mean by that is every single day, our mind is being hijacked. I want you to think about that. And before I teach you guys or share anything with you, I want you to think, as my mind, have I ever been hijacked in my mind, mentally, emotionally? Have I ever been hijacked? And what happens is in our body, the way that our mind reacts is when we experience this, whether it's at home, whether it's at work, whether it's at you run a business, every single day there's small things like stresses, worries, and all of these things. They pile up over time. Even if they're small, they pile up over time. And then whether it's at home, right, or in your professional life, and then it could take just one small annoyance. One small thing can trigger a hijacking of your mind where this beast comes out, and you are you're just not yourself. You are emotionally hijacked. And this book that I'm reading, and this author that I listen to often, his name is Sean Anker, and he talks about this part of the brain as being the jerk. We'll just call it like that because it has a scientific name, but we're going to think of it as a jerk. And the part of your mind that makes logical decisions, he calls it the thinker. And the thinker is in the front of the brain, prefrontal cortex, I believe it's called, and the back is the jerk. It's some weird name. If you guys know what it is, I can't remember it right now. Oh, it's the something legata, I can't remember. But anyway, you have your thinker and your jerk. And what happens is that these stresses or annoyances that happen inside of your life, they cause the jerk to take the driver's seat in your mind and in your action. And the bad thing about when this happens is we tend to lash out at a loved one, at a family member, at a kid, at a colleague, at a fellow worker. Whatever it is, we tend to lash out in this sort of way at these people. And what happens is when we do that, we also inside, we feel helpless and we feel overwhelmed, and we also lose a sense of energy or motivation. So one of the things that I've worked on or that I've said often, if you've followed our YouTube channel for the past 7 years, is you have to become a matador of your emotions. You have to become, a matador is the bullfighter with the red thing. When the bull comes or the emotions come, you got to be able to dodge your way out of those. So guys, what happens is that when we have these emotional hijackings, when the part of the brain in the back, the jerk, takes over and takes control of our actions and our thoughts, what happens? Yes, we lose motivation. Yes, we lose self-control. Yes, we lose energy and all of that. But what happens is that your skills and your effectiveness in whatever it is you're doing, being a parent or being a spouse or being an employee or an employer, right? All of that stuff can have real and drastic consequences, not just to you, but to your family and your organization, to your team, I speak often to Beachbody coaches, to your challengers, to your team, if you let these emotional hijackings take over too often. So what I want you guys to understand about this so that we can figure out a solution, because I'm going to offer you guys a solution to this, is that one thing is that if you have your let's say your pay cut, or you're a business owner and your income drops a little bit or a bit, which I've experienced all of those things throughout my journey, is that when these things happen and you experience that, like your income dropping, or maybe your 401k or your college funds or for your kids or whatever it is, diminishes a little bit or falls a little bit, our mind reads a financial loss, is actually processed in the mind, that jerk part of the mind, in the same way that real life mortal danger is processed. So like the moment when I'm sitting outside of this bus in Venezuela and there's 5 guys with machine guns taking our stuff, or the time I had a 9mm pointed at my head on a bus in Venezuela, that feeling of fear, of mortal danger that I experienced, you guys experience that same fear emotionally and chemically in your brain when you experience a job loss, income decrease, or your health insurance benefits cost more. You experience that same response, just like as if you were put in death. And the funny thing is, we react to falling profits, losing our wages, or even an onset of extra bills. Like I experienced when at the birth of our 3rd daughter, Ellie, when I decided to become a coach. We experienced those things the same way that our ancestors a long time ago reacted to the attack or the imminent attack of a saber-toothed tiger. The same response happens inside of our mind when that happens. So there's a solution to this. I'm going to give you guys one solution to help you guys with this. And the idea behind it, or the concept that I want you to think about, is you got to regain control of the jerk. Remember, it has a scientific name. Do anybody remember that name? I'll come back and comment on it. But the jerk in the back, the emotional response, hijacks and takes over the prefrontal cortex, or the thinker, we'll call it. So how can we put the control of the brain, take it from the jerk, get him out of the driver's seat, and put the thinker in the driver's seat? And the solution is self-awareness. That's one solution, is going to be self-awareness, which is why I believe, or why I've loved so much doing at least 10 minutes a day of meditation, or of reading good books, and really applying those things during your meditation, thinking about how they apply to your life. So self-awareness is going to be one of the most things. And one thing that I was listening to or understanding as I thought about these things is that, you know, I've had this experience a few times as I mentor people in building a business or helping other people achieve their goals of living a healthier, more fulfilling life, is sometimes somebody will come and they'll have, you know, those trigger moments happen of little annoyances, little stresses happen, and a trigger happens. Something happens where it seems like the end of the world that moment. And it's not the end of the world, but the jerk takes over. And what happens is that those things happen and we let the emotions take over, and this jerk takes over the seat. And one tip that I'm going to give you guys, and you guys are going to see it clearly just by watching what I do. You guys see almost daily that I'm writing some sort of post. I'm putting my thoughts into words on a post, or I'm doing a Facebook Live video and I'm putting my thoughts into words. I do that when I'm feeling inspired and motivated. I do that when I'm struggling with something or having a hard time with something, okay? This is one of the keys that's going to help you guys out when you're experiencing these things. If you stay inside of your mind and your brain and you are just in this place where the jerk takes over and you let him just start driving, your mind goes crazy. You come up with all of these end of the world's ending, I have this, I have that, this is happening, that's happening, I have no control, and it spins out. So one thing that you can do to regain that control in your self-awareness is to write out your thoughts. Write out the things that you're feeling and experiencing and thinking about onto a journal, into public if you want, like I do, but it can be private in a journal, or you can express those thoughts and feelings to a trusted colleague, a trusted spouse, or somebody that you trust that can identify with those things. What happens when you're going to write those things out, or you're going to express those things verbally to somebody else, is that there were some studies done that of these people. They did some studies, brain scans of people that were experiencing high levels of stress like this. And as they put those negative emotions and feelings into words, or into words on paper or words in thoughts, those negative emotions diminished. And what happens when that happened is their well-being improved, as did their decision-making skills. So I'm going to encourage you guys, if you're struggling with this, which I guarantee every single one of you deals with emotional hijackings. I have my entire life, is to find a trusted coworker or mentor or a person that you can talk to, also get a journal. And I want you guys to work on verbalizing the stresses and helplessness you're feeling, and that's going to be the first step towards helping you regain your control. So I'll just to share something about that just recently in the past. As you guys know, I had a brain scan, MRI, recently, just about a month ago. I was dealing with these little stresses, and I won't go through them all, but I'm helping make big decisions for an entire billion-dollar company inside of an advisory board that I'm a part of. I'm doing that. I'm working on our relationship and our marriage, and I'm working on building a team. Like, I have all of these different things in my life. I have 5 kids going into different stages of their lives. A toddler that's 2 that's absolutely a mess right now. He was up at 4:30 in the morning, by the way, throughout the whole night. I have all these stresses, and I remember I didn't really know what was going on. These things were building up, these little annoyances, these little stresses, these little emotions. And one thing I didn't even share about, as I shared some of those things as I was going through them a month ago, as I'm sitting in this advisory board meeting, making big decisions which can be stressful, I got a text from the school district that the school that my 3 daughters are at were on lockdown, like a lockdown, and we didn't know why, we didn't know what was going on, and you guys know stuff that happens on the news and all that stuff. So that triggers that fear, and then, so that's a little stress that's going on, and it didn't trigger me, but it caused stress to build up inside of me, right? And I didn't talk about it with anybody. And then the next day I jumped out of a freaking airplane skydiving, and that put my body and my mind, my system into extreme, I guess you could say, that tipping point where you lose it. And I got my blood pressure rose, and I had an incident with my brain, and I had extreme pain, and I passed out. So, and I continued to experience that because I was kind of keeping it inside. And I experienced 2 more of those where I blacked out and I had extreme pain whenever my blood pressure would spike. And it wasn't until I talked to a good, trusted friend he's a lieutenant of the New York State Police. He's one of my best friends. I talked to him. Talked to him about everything I was going through relationally, with my business, with that experience of the lockdown, with working with the advisory board. And I talked through all of my emotions and my feelings. And the funny thing is, after I talked about it, I regained control and realized, okay, I'm experiencing these things because I'm letting these stresses build up, and I'm not talking to anybody about them. I'm holding them inside. So, guys, we all get hijacked from time to time. I just wanted to help bring to awareness that sometimes if you are experiencing that, and you're not seeing success in your family, your marriage, or at your work, in your job, in your career, or you're building a business and you're not seeing success, I guarantee that maybe one of the parts, if it's not that you don't believe in yourself, if you believe in yourself, maybe the next thing that might be holding you back is you're being emotionally hijacked. You're letting the jerk take over your mind versus the thinker, and it's affecting your the people around you. It's affecting your personal energy, the level that you can produce and put out energy to the world and to the people around you that you're trying to help and serve. So I hope that helps you. I talked a little bit longer than I wanted to today, but I just wanted to get that out there, get my thoughts out there today, so I can regain a little bit more control and keep the thinker running in my mind, and keep that jerk from taking over my brain. So I love you guys. Hope this helps you guys in some way. If it does, please share it with somebody else. Have an incredible day, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.